thing. But yeah, there's absolutely double standards. Even with like what happened with Trump and getting convicted with that rape with Jean Carroll or whatever her name is. It's like,
Right.
where's the proof? You know, because I know plenty of guys as friends who have been rolled under the bus for sexual assault. And I know for a fact
Right.
that that's the case. They've got a shitty ass baby mama who is trying to get one up over on him, right? But also, there's so much shit that happens to women. So it's just fucking everybody is in a
Yeah.
position of like, oh, it's more harder for me. And, you know, we don't see each other as humanity and not like man or woman. And at the same time, like I said previously, it's complicated because now we're in a place in society where it sure feels like we're trying to do away with gender, you know.
Right.
And I don't think that's I don't think that's a good thing. So it's like everything is about finding balance. When I went to rehab when I was 21, went in, this fucking black lady, she was the head of the hospital. She came in, we were all fucking strung out. There was about 30 of us in the room. And she came in, she said, "All right, class, what's the definition of what's the point of life? And you know, what are we trying to achieve?" And people are like, "Success, white picket fence, fucking great job, you know, happiness." And she's like, "No, no, no." And I said, "Balance." And she jumped up and down and she's like, "Yes, yes, yes, that's it, it's balance." So it's really like trying to find a way to find balance where we can all kind of come together and see each other as humans, but at the same time respect the fact that we do have male and female characteristics. And that, I'm
Right.
sorry, you know, and I haven't really talked about this publicly because there's so much backlash and people get their panties in a twist. But, you know, you can't change your sex. And there is something to be said. Like, I talk about female empowerment. Like, females have a wider pelvis there for childbearing. Therefore, we have bigger legs. We are, you know, um, we have a pain threshold that's through the roof for childbearing. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that you can't just fucking say, "Oh, I feel like a woman, therefore I am." It doesn't work like that. And it in society is getting really fucking complicated because you get, you know, we're talking about women only spaces and people saying like, "Oh, well, I'm a woman and I dress as one, therefore I'm allowed in." And it's like, no, because there's people that are going to abuse that system. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not be a fucking pervert or a criminal or have any bad intent, but there's somebody else out there who is. And if any woman or child or girl gets violated, one is too many. Period. You
You know,
know?
I heard so I'm gonna call it transformer went to a woman's penitentiary and he pregnated somebody.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's what I'm
so I
talking
don't
about,
know.
dog. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, an alarm go off. Shit is just not uh it doesn't check out. Like there needs to be other
Yeah,
systems put into place. Build a fucking prison for trans women. You know what I mean? If this is the
I don't
direction,
think they gonna do that. I don't
yeah.
think they gonna do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to prison and I've seen like a little bit of trans in there at the time. And some of them they did look like women and stuff, but
Right.
there were inmates that would fight over them, I've heard, you know. So especially like in the max, like I know it's real intense there. So it's yeah.
It's
All of
complicated.
I mean we live in a complicated society, you know,
Yep.
like I think, you know, at a certain point it goes things do go downhill. So, you know, it like where do you see society like in the next year? Like I mean in like in 10 years or 20 years.
You really want to know?
Man,
Dog, I'm of the personal belief we'll be in civil war by the end of the summer. We'll be in
I've heard
civil
a lot of
war. And then from there, because, you know, with this election,
Right.
that shit's so complicated. Like, I've been a conspiracy theorist
Right.
since 2008. And I started going down the YouTube rabbit hole, right? This was back when you could watch
Right.
a video and it would go, here's a video, here's a video. And then you'd spend like 10 hours on YouTube and you're like, what the fuck, right? And now everybody's been deplatformed, the censorship, and you're like, why is
Yeah.
that? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, what are they trying to hide?
Yeah.
And,
You
you
say
know,
something, you get demonetized.
yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things for me was 9/11. You watch any documentary on that shit and you're like,
Right.
right? And you look at the US's relationship with every other country and how we've gone in and fucked shit up, and like Gaddafi, and you know, if they don't want to play with our banking system, it's like, all right, well, we'll just take you out. You know,
Right.
Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. There wasn't shit there. You're right. So it's this. It all comes down to money and greed and control. But how you fix that in a capitalistic society and find balance is really difficult. And it's like, even since October 7th, since all the shit's gone down, like, I haven't said anything on social media because, you know, you're going to piss off 50% of people because people are so hell
Right.
bent on their beliefs. But when you start kind of like just opening your mind and looking at what might be, you know, you're like, wow, this shit is deep. Like, even with there is a former CIA intelligence person who started Wix, you know, the website company, and
Yeah.
they bought the domain Hamas.com in 1999. Like, there's just, you know what I mean? And even like I said, going back to like the most obvious with 9/11, motherfucker, you're going to tell me, okay, so the guy that bought the building took out an insurance policy the day before, and, you know, that building was designed to be fucking hit by a plane. Jet fuel, scientifically, you cannot, that doesn't happen. And then Tower 7 just completely falls and it's a free fall. It's like a demolition fucking free fall. You know what I mean? But
Right.
here we all are, and we just forget about it. And it's the same thing with COVID. Same thing with COVID.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like we've jumped from one fucking catastrophic thing to another, and we just like deal with it, and then we just go on with it and how it impacts our life. And what David Icke, for anybody that's watching, this motherfucker is probably one of the only legit people that I really trust, you know, because he's done a
Right.
ton of research. He's been doing this shit for 30 years. He's been mocked and ridiculed, banned from like 22 countries. You know, he has said some shit that's so outlandish that it's really hard to wrap your head around, right? Because we are born into the matrix. As soon as we are born into this world, we are programmed and conditioned. We go into the school system, right? We're fucking programmed a certain way to like not question reality. You watch The Matrix, the actual movie, and you're like, whoa, that shit's crazy. You know what I'm saying? We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And what if, you know, back in the days of Atlantis, like, how much history has been hidden from us? History is written by people who fucking conquered. You know, it's a narrative. And at the end of the day, like, as humans, how do we get set free? Even with extraterrestrials, right? Like, it's 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 there's shit that is so far out there, but people are so programmed that they just can't be like, oh, that's interesting, let me take a look at it. Because I mean, it literally took me 3 years. When I first found his shit in 2011, I was like, this motherfucker is off his tree. You're telling me there's lizard people living in the moon and shit? Okay, dude. But 5 years later, I went and listened to him lecture for 8 hours, and he made every fucking thing make sense. He stood on stage in 2016, dog, and he was like, listen, you think Caitlyn Jenner in the bathroom situation is a problem right now? You wait, in a couple of years, you're not going to be able to talk about this, or you'll be ostracized from society. And like,
Yeah.
all the, you know, and talking about how there, and it's like, who's they, right? But like their ultimate goal is getting us all programmed into the internet of things, where all of our fucking thoughts and everything is in some giant cloud. And you look at Elon Musk and all the fucking satellites he's shooting up, and everybody sees him as this maverick because he's bought Twitter. And it's like, okay, but who are the other 89 shareholders who cannot be disclosed? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it all comes down to money and power and greed. Even with religion, you know, it's like there's so many systems of control, as opposed to us just saying, okay, let me take the word of Jesus. And Jesus didn't want organized religion. You know what I'm saying? It was like, here's some principles to live your life by. Be a good person, fucking do the next right thing, be of service to somebody else, get outside of your fucking egotistical self, live from a place of love. You know what I mean? But here we are, we've got priests molesting little boys, and you know what I mean? Like we said earlier, life is
Let me
really
ask you something. Why you don't be like in a bigger like in a platform, or like nobody don't like because you seem kind of popular. Like why nobody never really like why you never been to like a talk show or anything like that?
I mean, I've been on some shows for the watermelon stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if my time is coming. Uh,
Yeah.
I, I don't know. I'm kind of like in a phase of my life right now where I'm like, okay, what's next, right? Because like I've been doing the clothing line thing, and it's crazy because we started this as female empowerment, and here we are today, 8 years later, and people can't define what a woman is. So it's a real tricky fucking situation, you know? And I'm like, and with this, it was all about body acceptance and being strong and not getting caught up in all this other bullshit. But then you get women in my community who um, demonize people who want to lose weight. Oh, that's diet culture, and you're fat phobic. And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with wanting to fucking improve your body and be strong and get off the visceral fat, and right. So at the end of the day, it's like whoever they are, right, whether they're these alien entities, this race out there who's been trying to control humanity. I don't know, there's a lot of information out there that kind
Yeah.
of will trip you out, right? But
Right.
it yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, because the shit's so far-fetched to most people that they're just like,
Right.
what the fuck? But it's my personal belief that all these players, and this is just like one big ass game, we're probably living in a fucking simulation. And their goal is to get every single faction of society beefing and divided, because then we're more easily to be conquered. And their ultimate goal is globalism. They want a one world government. They want a fucking digital currency. They want a one world religion. Nobody can practice autonomy. Um, so I believe that's their goal. And what's going to happen, I have no idea. And I'm just kind of in this spot where I'm like, well, fuck it, because it spun me out, right? So from 2008 to 2013, I was so stressed out watching all this shit, right? Because then
Right.
one of the first conspiracies that I learned was like how feminism was funded by the Rockefellers, because they were like, oh, I know, we'll get the women to go to work. Now we have two sets of parents to tax. We'll break up the family nucleus, um, all these kinds of things. But then I'm like, but I've been living that life of like the boss bitch, and women can do anything, and we don't need a man. And, but as you get older, things kind of change and stuff like that. But, you kind of look at it and you're like, what's real and what's not? I don't know. And, until 2013, I mean, I got so fucking tripped out, dog. I almost became an agoraphobe. Like, I didn't want to leave the house because I was like, they're listening to me. Like, it's crazy how that shit can fuck with your head.
Mm.
And I said, right, let me focus on things that I can control and empower women to love their body and be strong and be good people and whatever, and create a sisterhood. And then now we got to 2020, and I'm like, And the thing is with the mainstream media, and it's unfortunate because Trump has kind of hijacked some of these words, right? And I'm sure there's great things about him, and there's not so great things about him, because I think he's a part of the establishment as well, right? They
Right.
all are. It's one big, like George Carlin said, it's one big fucking party, and none of us are invited, you know? But they give the illusion that we're on the left and the right and the fucking right. So
Right.
and they're all in on this shit together. But
Did you
uh,
vote?
yeah, I got to 2013, said, right, let me focus on my brand. Got to 2020. And when COVID happened, intuitively, I'm not anti-vax, but I was like, something is not right about this. And you know what they say about women's intuition, right? Mother's intuition. I was
Right.
like, some shit is not right. And you go on X and it's like, you see the number of people, doctors, professionals talking about the adverse effects, and like some really reputable people, and it's not in the news, so to speak, right? So then people are like, oh, it's not real, and it's fucking fake, and it's a conspiracy. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, have you looked out at the fucking sky lately? Right now it's clear out in Vegas, but normally there's X's and shit everywhere. They're out there spraying the fucking sky. You know what I mean? Like this whole plan of depopulation and shit sounds crazy, but you get to a point where you're like, okay, what can I actually do about it? What can I change? All I can do is just show up, be a good person, live in the moment, because it could be my last minute. I could go out and
Right.
get plowed over walking across the street, right? So you live a good life, you be a good person, you live life in the moment to the best of your ability, and know that we're souls having a human experience, and there is a God, and I am not it. And this shit will get figured out. So I don't know. That's
Right.
kind of where I'm at.
So you got some comments. Rolando G. Wow, Courtney. I did not know you muscular fitness physique is off the chain. Just your aesthetic. So
Thank
you
you.
so you compete? Do you still compete and stuff? Wow, that's
No, I haven't competed since 2015. I thought about
okay.
it because, being 42, I'm like, ooh, I want to show the world that women age like
Right.
boxes and all this kind of shit. But really, in order to get to that level, you need to do a lot of gear. And I have a thyroid condition, and I'm not in
Yeah.
a position to do all that. And I've got so much other shit going on. But, um,
It's
you know,
intense. The sport is very intense. Like
it,
I sometimes I don't even know how these people do it. Tell you the truth, because I wouldn't do it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Um.
a lot of hard work. I find a lot more. I find a lot more benefit from jujitsu, right? Because you go and you put in the
Yeah.
training, you can actually apply it, and walk down the street and look at somebody and be like, oh, I dare you, motherfucker, right? Or it's just it's using, because when you're bodybuilding, like so much of your faculty, so much of your thought process goes in, it's so self-centered, because you're constantly thinking about yourself. You have to fucking plan your food, plan your supplements, work out twice a day, do your posing and shit. Like you don't have a lot of headspace to be of service to other people. And
Right.
that's when I'm at my best, is when I'm being of service to other people. Because when I'm not, and I'm in my self-centered head, it's all about me, 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 and then you're feeling sorry for yourself. And it's like, no, bitch, go out there and fucking help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? There's people out on the street who got evicted because they lost their job because of COVID. You know what I mean? And like, go out there and brighten up somebody else's day. But when you're in the bodybuilding mindset, you can't you can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
train bodybuilders?
I just started my online business seriously probably about 6 months ago, and I've got like a plethora of different people, more so people who are, just looking to improve their life and stuff like that. So, have only had one bodybuilder recently, but I'm kind of getting ready to revamp that program and solve one specific problem, and that is to help women build big fucking show-stopping, watermelon crushing legs.
Yeah, I seen yeah, I want to show you something. I noticed that you kind of teach people with the like going like in the ice and all that stuff. I want to show. Now, how long you stayed there? Like
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Like what like I think what does that do? I think somebody explained like the meaning of it, but like what does that do for you? Like what
It calms your nervous system down. It restricts blood
okay.
flow. It decreases inflammation. There's a lot of benefit to cold therapy, but I have Graves' disease, and I'm actually I am intolerant to the cold, so
Right,
it's I've not done it since. I've not done it since, but highly
right,
recommend it for people, especially with hypertension, and even like disciplining your mind, and
right.
they start out a little slower. But yeah, for people looking for other health hacks, like it's a big
Yeah.
thing. It's
There was
amazing.
this guy, there was this guy, like they made like a documentary about it. Like I was watching 2020 and they show how this guy he would stay in the bitter cold. Like it'd be freezing cold. Like it could be like what, like maybe like 10 degrees. And he'll just stay there like in the water.
Yeah, Wim Hof.
And yeah, and I think he was doing like this, like it's like a cultivation like method or something, where
Mhm.
like they practice like like in a cave or something like that, and they just stay in that cold
Mhm.
water, just stay there for like anytime they feel like it. So he would do that in public, and the people would just look at him like yeah, I remember that. That was very intense to see that.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yep. So
How did how did like the watermelon thing? You said a guy like was getting you to do that?
yep, it was a session, and he wanted me to knock him out, and
Mm,
he said, and we can kind of end on this story because I've got about another 5 minutes. But he said, I've only had two bodybuilders in 20 years knock me out. I was like, oh yeah, bitch. Okay, I love a challenge. And I put him in a sideways figure four, went on, and I heard this really loud pop, and he went out. He was out cold. I let go of him, and mind you, I hadn't gotten clean yet, so I was high as fuck. I had just taken, like 6 Norco pain pills. And I was like, oh my God, did I kill this guy? I thought I broke his neck. I thought I broke his neck. I let go. I laid him back. I'm staring at him. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. He's foaming out of the fucking corner of his mouth and shit.
yeah,
And after about 8 seconds, he starts snoring. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God. Because he had the blue tarp in his office. And I'm like, am I supposed to wrap him up in this tarp? Like, what the fuck? Like, all these thoughts going through my head. And he came to, and he was like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm like, yeah, how was your nap? And I'm like, by the way, I thought I broke your neck. And it turned out he had like a dirt bike accident or something. And like, it was his
right.
sternum. It was his sternum that popped. And I had so much adrenaline pumping through my body that crushing those watermelons was like bang, bang, bang. It was easy. But once you do it once, right? Once you do it once, it's like when somebody first ran the first 4 minute mile. People didn't know it was achievable, but then once people saw that it was achievable, they were like, oh, I can do this. And then it happened again. And then 2 weeks later, it happened again and it happened again. Right. So it's kind of the same thing with the watermelon, where I've turned it into a mental challenge for women because
Yeah,
again,
I seen it. Yeah, I seen
yeah.
that. Like I think like one of the videos, um, you was showing. Well, I'm gonna show.
Hey, let's go! Women are scared. Yep. You ask any anthropologist, and they'll tell you that women fought till the death. Yep. Whereas men historically fought for chivalry. Right. Right? So women, you are fierce. Yeah. You need to flip that switch and remember that why I do this is to show you that you are strong and you are powerful and you need to ignite inside of you. You got me? Yep. Let me hear you fucking yell. Yeah!